Terminus. A map that really lived up to the expectations, I feel. Terminus is a healthy mix of classic zombies and modern zombies. As much as the community wants Black Ops 3 back, we unfortunately have got to accept the reality that we live in the modern age of zombies. The game mode is over 15 years old now, and I believe we finally reached that good balance of touching on the old feeling of COD zombies and having the modern aspect of it. Terminus is a great example of Treyarch's passion returning back to the game mode. Because of this, I feel like the future of Black Ops 6 Zombies is looking especially good, especially since that new map reveal brings me a lot of hope to the game mode. So without further ado, let's talk about the star of the launch of Black Ops 6, Terminus. Immediately spawning in, you see a bunch of guards getting destroyed by zombies, and you're presented with the amp generator. You're in the guard post, and in the rooms, you can see Peck and Strauss working on computers. I don't know what they're doing, but they're there. And they're talking to you, and if you're playing as the map operators, you'll get interactions back. You do tend to come back a lot to the guard post during the Easter egg. You also get access to quick revive and stamina up once you begin and finish the amp generator. Again, this area doesn't really set too much of an impact until you step outside. The moment you step outside, you're presented with an absolute stunning view of the Terminus Island. This gives you just a taste of what the map will offer, though definitely my first time playing this map, I was very excited for what was to come. Opening up the next doors, you're presented with this middle area. Don't know exactly what to call it. Here, there's a basketball court, living quarters, canteen, and a workshop. These hold another amp generator and jug. The main thing to point out here is that you get more of a view of the entire facility. You can see a tower, and you start to work out more details on the smaller islands around the map. There's a couple of traps here too that can help with trains and the boss zombies, those just being the tentacle trap. There is another area in this middle section, and that is the lab, which is unlocked after you unlock Pack-a-Punch and start the Easter egg, basically. I'll go into more detail about the lab once I start talking about the Easter egg, though. Moving on, it's the big gun in the tower area, as I like to call it. The big gun is probably the best looking trap in this game. It doesn't do much because it only insta-kills zombies, and the boss zombies and manglers don't take any damage to it. But holy hell, does this thing look sick when you fire it. Deadshot and Elemental Pop is also located around here, and the tower, just again going back to it, sounds absolutely nuts when you fire it. You can see after you fire it too that the cylinders used are just burnt out, and you see the smoke coming from this absolute massive cannon. The tower looks cool, but besides that, there's nothing too much of value there since Elemental Pop is there. It just has really cool sound design, but besides that, nothing crazy. Moving downward though, past Deadshot and past the tower, you see the two tunnels, the Speed Cola tunnel and the PhD's tunnel. The Speed Cola tunnel is more just an underground cave, nothing too crazy there, to be honest. It serves as a really good transition down into what we'll be talking about next. And then same thing with the PhD tunnel, just a really good transition area down into the next area. The PhD tunnel is supposed to be more of a mine, and you can tell that, yeah, they mine here. But again, nothing too crazy to point out here. Just a nice transitionary area. The biolabs. This is where this map starts to really put everything together. And this is where I feel the classic feeling of zombies really starts to take a hold. The biolabs really sets the tone of what Dr. Modi has done to the people, or to the people that are experimented on this island. This is the first real point on the map as well that allows you to get on the boats. And the final amp generator is located here, which turns on the power for the entire rest of the facility. Melee Macchiato is also located here, which is a brand new perk introduced into Black Ops 6. And I really like how bland it feels to be in here. And what I mean by that is that there is really only a single color in this room, and it's that really dark grayish green. I don't know how else to describe it, but that color really adds a sense of dread into this map. As you know, whatever happened here was extremely fucked. Especially seeing all the experiments jump out of their canisters as part of random events. It just really adds to the overall feeling of this map, which I genuinely think has been missing since Black Ops 4's Tag der Toten. Even just walking around in the biolabs, you can see some experiments just left alone on trolleys, and it really just shows you like what happened here. I honestly think the only thing missing from this part of the map is some kind of white noise. Especially because of what dreadful this lab is. I think just the cell light buzz would just completely solidify the eeriness of this area. Now moving on to the rest of the islands and talking about the boats themselves. I actually think this is really the most disappointing portion of the map. It's not that I don't like it, and this could be due to me just have been grinding camos, not really playing the map the way I would really play an older zombies map. Unless you're going out there for the Easter egg and wonder weapon, there is very little reason to go out to the outer islands. It's a little disappointing that the community has mostly used these boats for glitches and not to travel from one point to another on this map. The islands just don't have much to offer besides just the side Easter egg stuff, which I really don't blame them for just doing that for the islands, but again, it's just kind of there. This could be more because, again, like I said earlier, I've been just focusing on the camo grind, but there's just no real need to go off the main island of Terminus. And this is something I think, believe it or not, Transit did better, in my opinion, where Transit forced you to visit one location at least once, whereas this map, you could easily get into the mid-30s, maybe even high round if I'm being honest, and never leave the main island. You can just stay on the mainland and everything you want would be there. Now, talking about gameplay, overall, I feel like this map plays phenomenal. I definitely don't have an issue in how this map plays, but there are just some things that I don't like about it. We'll start with that first before I talk about the really good stuff about this map. The thing I really don't like, and honestly, this is more of an issue of that it's also just in Liberty Falls, are the SAM challenges and the armor. Now, the challenges themselves, I don't hate. I think the challenges are fun, and I'm glad that they're map specific. Just like in Liberty Falls, how that map has map specific challenges. However, the armory system in this map is very, I want to say lazy, but it really is just because it's also in Liberty Falls. I feel like it removes a little bit of the identity from this map because these two things are also in Liberty Falls. The armory just serves no purpose because there's no unlock method, and really you just start getting keys in order to just give yourself more shit in the later rounds. Now, the other big issue I have with this map are our dedicated crew, and I don't feel like this is a thing of me not liking the characters, because honestly, I am a Weaver enjoyer. I think the lines that come out of this guy are fucking hilarious. But it is very close from feeling like how the Primus and Ultimus crews were on the previous and classic Zombies maps. The issue with the operators in Terminus specifically is that there's no direct interaction with the map outside of Strauss and Peck talking to them. What do I mean by that? Well, in older games, and especially one that I can remember immediately off the top of my head, is when Richtofen picked up the Thunder Gun, right? He would say some gay shit like, "Oh, I'd rather this suck than I'd blown." That to me is a direct interaction with the map itself. Whereas in this game, I can pick up the Wonder Weapon and they'll talk about, "Oh man, what?" And you'll literally hear them say this. It's, "Oh my god, Wonder Weapon, do me right. Instead of, oh man, what the fuck is this beam smasher thing? Why is there a plant inside this beam smasher? And it's really hard not to notice that, especially after playing Liberty Falls as much as I have. Because a lot of those same lines, they say in a map that is supposed to be just operators and not a dedicated crew. We are so close to getting that main crew feeling. And the one thing I feel like they are missing on this map is just direct interaction. Like, I want to be able to pick up the beam smasher and have anyone in the main crew be like, holy shit, what the fuck is this? Or just something similar to that, where like I can activate the fucking Aether, the beam, the fucking anti-air cannon trap, and have Weaver or whoever I'm playing as scream, holy hell, why is there a black hole right there, or whatever the hell, right? Like, even just simple things like that would go a long way, because that is genuinely what the operators are missing. Outside of the Easter egg, of course. In the Easter egg, I feel like the operators are completely fine, and they serve their role just as Easter egg, and like as they should in an Easter egg. Like, there's really no other way to put that. Now, on to the really good things about this map. I actually think the Beam Smasher is a very creative wonder weapon, and definitely fits the theme of the map very well, but I will say it does have a couple of issues. And these are the same issues I feel the Jet Gun has on Liberty Falls, and that's just the Manglers and the Amalgams just kind of eat this thing. Like, they just do not care for it. I don't know if this is intentional on Treyarch's part on making the Beam Smasher just weak against boss zombies, but this thing is crazy against the normal zombies, and that goes for the Jet Gun too. That thing is crazy against the normal zombies. It's just that, especially on the older maps, it was very nice to just whip out a wonder weapon and just shred whatever was in front of you, whether it be boss or not, right? That isn't the worst thing in the world. I think I can get used to it, but the actual one thing I don't like about this wonder weapon is the gimmick isn't clear at first. The gimmick of this wonder weapon, if you're not aware of, is that you're supposed to use the alternate fire to kind of hypnotize and slow down the zombies, and then use the beam to do damage to them. Now, the reason you'd want to do that is because the beam will do more damage if the target is hypnotized. This also goes for the elites and the Mangler. I didn't understand that probably until like my third or fourth time using it. The way you actually should understand this is by seeing the damage numbers, but I most of the time play with the classic HUD, which disables the numbers and disables the health bars and all that. So I would have no idea what the Beam Smasher's gimmick was unless I had the damage numbers on. However, this is not to say that the Beam Smasher is a bad weapon. Moreover, that it's a little bit of a confusing weapon, which isn't completely new to zombies at all. I'm very happy with its design. I think it's crazy to have this thing just have some weird plant looking thing inside it and just have it shoot a beam and then have it explode when it runs out of ammo. Like, it definitely fits with the theme of the map, especially because it's on an island with all this weird vegetation, weird zombies, parasites, vermin, amalgams. Like, it definitely fits the theme of the map extremely well. And that leads perfectly into my next positive about this map, and it's that the amalgam is awesome. I love this boss zombie so much. The amalgam is a very balanced bullet sponge. I don't know how else to put it. It's a very balanced bullet sponge. It is a crazy looking thing. You see, this thing is basically just a bunch of corpses like melted together with a bunch of arms and heads and legs popping out. You can tell this thing is a freak of nature just off of that, and it is very hungry. It is very hungry. It will pull you in whenever you get too close to it, chomp you, or it'll pull a zombie in and eat it just to restore HP. And I think this is the superior boss zombie over the Abomination for many reasons. The Amalgam only really interrupts the flow of the game when it spawns in. Because when it spawns in, it will usually run straight through a horde to get to you. But after that, you're able to train it with a horde around you, unlike the Abomination and unlike the Manglers in this game. Because of that, you're actually able to play around the Amalgam a lot better than the Abomination, in my opinion. Because you're able to work around it, but not have it interrupt the entirety of gameplay. Now, the only time the amalgam will interrupt your gameplay, and this is where it's most dangerous, is when it pulls you in. And what I've noticed from the amalgam is that when you're on a certain range, it will not pull you in. In fact, it will reach that health threshold that it needs to reach in order to start attacking and, you know, latching things and bringing them in. But if it does and it reaches beyond a certain threshold, I've noticed that it just grabs a zombie and then that latch attack is just on a cooldown of some kind. I don't know exactly how long it is, but the fact I was able to catch on to something like that and work around it, I believe makes this boss zombie very well designed. So the main things to point out with the amalgam are keep your distance and start moving or start improvising a little bit when this thing shows up, is basically what I've discerned from this boss zombie. Moving on to the Easter egg. How do I explain this? After doing the Easter egg once, my initial reaction was, I don't want to do this again. But I've attempted it again, and I've realized this Easter egg isn't difficult. It was just me not knowing how to do the Easter egg. Now, as long as you're sufficiently set up, this Easter egg is a cakewalk. It's very doable, even for those brand new Zombies players. If you have a couple of friends that know what they're doing, or even if you just practice a while on this map, this Easter egg's a cakewalk. The main steps can be broken down as get your pack-a-punch open and get the wonder weapon of the map. Now the wonder weapon has its own couple steps to get, which require you to go around the islands and get this code and just do a bunch of alignment and then get these orbs and then build the wonder weapon. That's basically the long and short of it. I'm not going to go into extreme detail about that, but what I do like about that specifically is that you can pay Peck to not do map, basically, and for $5,000 you can get the code, put it in, and then just finish building the wonder weapon. But the reason you need the wonder weapon is because to get the hard drive to find Nathan, you have to shoot one of the tentacle traps and it will drop the hard drive. I like this step because when me and my friends did this step, we figured this out on our own. Like, we wanted to do the Black Ops 6 Easter eggs without doing a guide, and we were able to figure out most of this Easter egg on our first attempt. Now, this was barring we all avoided spoilers for when World's First was done and whatnot, because we do have lives, most of us at least, and we decided that we would avoid spoilers and do this for our first chance, and we did it. The point is, we made it to the boss fight. We didn't complete the boss fight on our first attempt, though, I will say. Now, getting the hard drive, you give that to Pack. Pack will tell you where Nathan is. Nathan's in the center of the map of the biolab, in this chamber. You're then told to find a passcode and decode it. Alright, we decode the passcode, which requires you to go through the map and find certain symbols. So one is a clock, the other one is a playing card, and the other one is a days since last incident card on the wall. This step we brute forced. Surprisingly brute forced. And the only reason we were able to actually brute force this step was because there was a voice line or a voice log on the table immediately after where Nathan is revealed. That tells you that these guys kept their password in places that they would be at regularly throughout the day. And I feel like that's something this Easter egg does very well, where I definitely don't think Treyarch wanted everyone to just go on a blind wild goose case like that. I feel like the community is sick of that. I'm definitely sick of it, especially with everything that happened with Black Ops 4. Say what you want about that game, the worst part about it was the Easter eggs and hunting for those Easter eggs. The fact that they kind of throw you a hand in this Easter egg makes it fun for people that don't have the time to just dump on Easter egg hunting. So very, very cash money of you, Treyarch, to include a little bone for us there. But anyways, we ended up brute forcing the passcode because we found out the first two, the days since incident and the card, but we didn't know about the clock. So we just put in every number until those two. And that began the Nathan boss fight after doing that. Well, that Nathan boss fight was just an amalgam, and we shredded that thing in like 5 seconds on our first attempt. Nothing too crazy to point out here. The boss fight isn't difficult. I mean, like I said, it's just an amalgam, a really tanky amalgam at that. I will say it does add more of a impact on what this map is. You can see that this guy is suffering. Like, they have this guy wailing and crying the entire time. You're just dumping into him, and you could feel like, okay, this really sucks. They really messed this guy up forever. After you kill Nathan, Maya puts him down, whatever, story stuff. I do like that there is a middle cutscene. It really subverted the expectation of, damn, that Easter egg was kind of ass. I was really happy to see that there was more after this. The main things to point out for this next step are that you need to go to the boat first, because now we need to connect to the network of Janus. And the way we do that is that we go to the boat. We find a security card first on the ground that Nathan left lying on the ground. And then we go to the boat. Now the boat holds these network connectors, and there's a holdout after you grab these network connectors and all that, yada yada. You go on the island looking at the network connector, or on the main island looking for the disconnected stuff, and you reconnect it. That's basically that step. Once you reconnect it, the Sam AI says hello, and we convince her to let us hack into the network and basically force Dr. Modi to come out of her hiding hole, which at this point she has revealed herself to the crew and whatnot. After we force her to come up, she decides to nuke the entire Terminus island, in which then we have to defuse the bombs. Now, immediately, me saying that just reminds me of Gorod's Kurobi's step, and that's scary, man. I'm not gonna lie, that when we saw that at first, we all collectively shit our pants. But then we realized it wasn't too bad. We found the bombs in the biolab, and we were able to disable them. Once the bombs are disabled, you can start the boss fight. Now, the boss fight is basically a roided up Kraken, that ate the warheads that Peck has been looking for the entire time. And honestly, I like this boss fight. I don't hate it. I think it's a good challenge. There's a way to cheese it. The community figured out a way to cheese it, but that always happens with these games. Nothing surprising there. The main things I want to point out here are the boss is a little confusing at first. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, when we started this boss fight initially, we did not realize that the entire arena was a circle. We genuinely thought the boss fight, the entire arena, was just that one little platform you're placed on initially. We didn't realize it was a giant circle that you could loop around and train on. Besides that, this boss fight's really straightforward. Shoot the weak points and just keep dumping into him. And he has 2 phases, 2.5 phases, I want to say. First phase is just dump into the weak spots. Then he disappears for a while. You get jumped by a bunch of manglers, amalgams, and zombies. Kill those guys. Starts the next phase, where he turns like blue. And you can only shoot him during certain parts and certain spots. And then once you kill him, the boss fight ends, and the Easter egg is up. Barring the story aspect of it. I'll get into that later. But barring the story aspect of it, this map has a very solid Easter egg. I definitely think it's better than almost all the Cold War ones. I think Mauer's is a little... I'd say it's on the same level as Mauer or Tote. And again, the main thing I want to point out, blabbering about this Easter egg and blabbering about the map layout and whatnot, is the fact that this map tells a story. This is something that has been missing from modern zombies, and I'm very glad it is brought back in Terminus. Classic Zombies always did a really good job of using the setting to tell a story rather than telling a story in a setting. This map, immediately loading into it, you can tell that a lot of stuff has happened here, and through this Easter egg, you get the explanations. Well, I wouldn't say all of the explanations, but you get a huge impression of what has been going on in this island and how it's affected the people that have been on here. An excellent thing about this Easter egg too is that there aren't really any annoying steps. Like I said, this Easter egg's difficult if you don't know what you're prepared for, right? But if you know what you're getting into and you know what zombies and encounters you will have, as long as you're adequately prepared, solid Easter egg, no complaints. Now, getting into the story aspect of it, personally, I'm mixed. The ending showed off stuff which I personally am both excited and not excited about. They name dropped Alistair Rhodes and they name dropped the Sentinel artifact. Why are these important? Well, Black Ops 4 had the Chaos storyline, and the Chaos storyline kind of got axed after Black Ops 4 because, well, to put it frankly, the community just didn't like the fact that it existed. At least that's my personal belief on it. And now it's being, I want to say, retconned into the Dark Aether storyline. I mainly have an issue with this because, one, we could have gotten more Chaos story maps, right? Like, that's my main issue. I wish Chaos got more attention and more value by the community, but I get why it didn't, don't get me wrong. And the other thing too is that it's nothing new. And what do I mean by that? Well, Dark Aether kind of left zombies with an open book, if you know what I mean. And with an open book, you can make up a lot of new stuff. Now, my main issue with this ending is that you can literally replace the Sentinel artifact, Prima Materia, and Alistair Rhodes with literally anything else, and the ending would be the exact same, in my opinion. Like, you could have a new Dark Aether item or artifact, and you can have a new character that has been studying this artifact, and it would change absolutely nothing about this ending. But because the ending involves the Chaos storyline and Alistair Rhodes and some stuff from Vanguard that I don't really care about, frankly, it's kind of like whatever for me at this point. I would have been more excited personally if this was new stuff rather than stuff from the Chaos storyline. But again, that is just my opinion. Does not mean, though, that I'm not excited for what is to come. And honestly, Terminus as a whole really sets up the foundation for this next chapter of the Dark Aether storyline, which personally I think makes the map just that much more exciting for me. Now, overall, Terminus really brings in everything I like about zombies and just shoves it into this modern system. I like that the map told a story. I like that the map looks visually great. Maybe it's not as colorful as the older zombies maps, but the map just does look great. The map flows extremely well too, going from one area to another. You could almost pull off a map-wide train and just trap cycle, but here and then comes the issues that I have with just the zombie systems. I do not think it's a fault of either Liberty Falls or Terminus, but the Black Ops 6 zombie system has a lot of positives, a lot of negatives, and a lot of things that I'm still on the fence about and I don't know how I really feel about. Now, I'll start with the negatives because I feel like this is where most of my issue, I feel like I can explain most of my issues with the Black Ops 6 system. Let's start with the obvious stuff. Mangler spam. It's not even necessarily boss spam in this game that upsets me. It's specifically manglers. Now, why manglers? This goes back to my thing with the Abomination. They fucking constantly interrupt your horde. And that just makes it to where in this game, especially very high rounds, where you're getting 10, 12 manglers around, you can't fucking train. It's just not a viable strategy. You can't train around the maps. You can't train in a higher round. You'll just get overwhelmed. And that is barring the fact that super sprinters exist, right? Manglers ruin high rounding for me personally because all the maps will have to boil down to one strategy. And they'll be camping and taking advantage of score streaks. That's something I can see happening with the future of this game when it comes to high rounding, is that all those strategies will revolve around cycling score streaks, and that is not a good thing. This is one of my issues with Black Ops 4 Zombies as a whole, is that the high round strategies in that game just were the same. There was no real variety, except, there really was no real variety because everyone just used the Helion, and then everyone just camped in a corner the entire time because you couldn't train. It was just that difficult. You just could not train. Now, another thing that I don't like about the Black Ops 6 system was how upgrading your weapon feels. I think it feels complicated in this game. I don't think it's necessarily the worst upgrade system of all time. It just could be a lot better is what I'm trying to say. The main ways to upgrade your weapon in this game are through rarities and through pack-a-punch. Now, here's the weird thing. I feel like I've gotten a better understanding of it now, but from what I understand, you always want to prioritize upgrading the rarity of your weapon and then pack-a-punch. Because the rarity of your weapon just increases that base damage, whereas pack-a-punch is just a multiplier to that damage. And because of that, personally, when it comes to zombies, I feel like there's too much brain power when it comes to just upgrading your weapons. Because you're already managing perks, score streaks, and your armor in this game. Now your weapon has 2 separate upgrade paths, barring that it's not a wonder weapon. It adds another layer of complexity that frankly this game does not need. Now, I know a lot of people are saying that the solution to this is double tap, and to be honest, yeah, it is. I think just another perk that adds more damage to your bullet weapons is the solution to this, because the rarity just it's either, maybe it's because I've played classic zombies for so long that it just feels still too new to me and I just don't enjoy it. But I honestly think like Black Ops 4 just pack-punching your weapon like 80 times to get it a max, like the max damage out of it, was way better than 2 separate upgrade paths with multiple upgrades. And especially because you don't know what to prioritize first. It's really difficult to figure that out. Now this brings me to my next part. Well, not really, but it brings me to my next part where on the weapons, wonder weapons just feel very lacking in this game. And I'm going to be honest, again, this could be because of the camo grind again, but I just don't feel a need to get a wonder weapon in my inventory. There's just no point. And that I feel is a very bad thing for zombies. Like, I definitely want to play maps and feel immediately, oh boy, I can't wait to get the wonder weapon. Or, oh boy, I need to get this wonder weapon in order for me to feel a lot more powerful in this game. And that brings me to the next thing, where you're always playing catch-up. Barring the early game, you're always playing catch-up in this version of zombies. And this is a double point whammy I'm going to just put out here, is that in this game, there's no early game anxiety because you spawn in with a single plate of armor, and you're always playing catch-up because your weapons always feel super underpowered. I don't know what it is, and I've used most of the weapons in this game at this point, like extensively. I've unlocked gold for every single weapon now at this point. And I definitely feel like in the early game, maybe the first 3-4 rounds, your weapons feel fine. But the moment like round 5 and beyond starts, your weapons immediately start to fall off, and it is very noticeable. And because of that, you're constantly playing catch up in just damage, whereas the perks don't really add that much oomph to your gameplay. I think the only perk that makes a very significant impact in this game is Deadshot. Not even Juggernaut, just Deadshot. Because Deadshot gives you a straight damage boost to every single one of your weapons. And the fact that in this game, well, not even Jug, but just almost all the perks don't really add too much because you're constantly playing catch up with damage is, I think, an issue in just the health balancing or in the damage balancing. And I really hope down the line, with the new map coming out and more perks and whatnot being added into the game, that we get some kind of solution to this, because I like that the game makes me feel weaker, but I also don't like that I'm constantly trying to catch up to the power of the zombies. Especially because in the older games, like when you got your wonder weapon, you felt like a fucking badass. Like you were ready to destroy some shit. And granted, that wonder weapon took a while for it to fall off. Like even like my favorite wonder weapon of all time, the Blundergat, right? You can't run just a Blundergat, you have to upgrade it, and then once you upgrade it, usually either the Magma Gat, if you ran the blood of the Magma Gat, that thing was fucking crazy. That thing would one-shot Brutus for all time. But it wasn't very good against the zombies at a certain point. If I remember correctly, I could be very wrong about that. I'm going off of memory here. But my point is, it took a very long time for that wonder weapon to start sucking. Whereas in this game, it is crazy to me that the round 25, I'm in the middle of the boss fight, I can't just whip out the wonder weapon and just melt an amalgam in front of me, because the wonder weapon just doesn't do that much damage. I don't know. Maybe for me, the value of a wonder weapon is different than someone else's, but the weapon power in this game is very lacking for the amount of special and elite zombies they throw at you later in the round. Now, enough about my ranting and about the things I don't like about this game. Let's go into things I'm like alright about in this game. Main things I'm okay about are the shield plating and the point system. I don't know how to feel about it yet because this map is, or I guess these maps kind of work around the actual system as a whole. So I'm very indifferent about this, and I really just don't think it's that bad in my complete honesty. Same thing with the story. I'm curious on where it's going to go, but I honestly don't think there's going to be too much for me to really care about later down the line. Going on to the positives though, I fucking love the augments in this game. The augments make such a difference in how you play the game, to where I feel like I said this in my let's be positive going into BO6 video. The augments actually allow different kinds of builds to flourish. If you want to run melee only, oh my god, that is possible. With Aether Shroud, you got the elemental pop that when something hits you, there's a chance that an element pops. Melee Macchiato has the vampiric effect and just straight damage buffs the weapons. The melee weapons, sorry. Going into a stun build, I figured out you could do a stun build of some kind. Juggernaut has reactive armor, to where if you break an armor plate, it stuns the zombies around you. You can run different augments on the ammo mods that basically just stop the zombies from attacking you. So, for example, Deadwire has Lightning Strike, which just crashes down lightning, and in a radius, just stuns all the zombies, including Manglers, which is wild to me. And then of course you have classic Electric Cherry on Elemental Pop. It is just stuff like that that makes me really happy that the system exists, because now there's a lot more personality in how you play. Like, you can have some monster in pub lobbies just running around one-shotting Manglers with the baseball bat, or fucking just boxing an amalgam just to the face with a melee setup that they figured out. Or you can have an absolute element monster where you just put everything on a high cooldown and just spread as much elemental damage as possible. And then with a combination of elemental pop where you just have it constantly fire off as much as possible. Like, it's amazing to me how well they thought out this augment system. I'm very surprised and pleasantly pleased by it. The other big thing in this game that I feel people do not give Black Ops 6 enough credit for is the Omni movement. The Omni movement is by far the best addition to this game, barring the augment system. I love it. I think Zombies has officially become the movement game, like, with Omni movement. The amount of times I've gotten myself out of crazy situations just because I was able to run in a weird way and just manipulate a horde is just very surprising to me. Being able to slide in any direction, very, very useful. Being able to run in any direction, very useful. Being able to flop in any direction, so okay, but I don't know. I really can't knock the Omni movement for everything, especially because the maps are definitely designed around that system, and you can very much tell that they are. Next good thing, the Gobblegums. I'm glad they're back. I don't hate how they were implemented. I definitely am fine with them skipping Liquid Divinium as a step for me to get more Gobblegums. And besides that, I mean, they're optional. I don't have to use them. And I can't really hate on them, man. There's Gobblegums. Gobblegums are back. That's it. The one positive thing I will say that they did bring in from Cold War and improved upon vastly is the salvage system. The salvage system is very good in this game. I'm glad I don't have to keep a mental note of how much salvage of each one I have in order to progress into the high rounds, especially since, like I said earlier, score streak cycling is a very high and popular strategy for high rounding in this game. So I'm very glad it's just in a single system, and I'm very glad they moved the ammo mods to that too. I feel like that makes a lot more sense than just having it a part of Pack-a-Punch now. I will say, and this is probably my final criticism of this game, and it's mainly because me and my friends are talking about this, and I definitely think this is more of a direction they should go with Zombies. And it's having the score streaks be not air-based. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, the score streaks I really like in this game are the Sentry Turret, the Mutant Injection, and the Mangler Cannon. And the RCXD a little bit. The reason why I like those score streaks is because it doesn't really take you out of the game completely. Like the mangler cannon is literally just, you picked up a mangler cannon and you're shooting it at the zombies. Like, that's fucking cool. Mutant injection, you become a mangler by fucking, you know, roiding yourself up. That's really cool. The turret doesn't really take you out of the gameplay because you just place it down and as you're training, you have that thing spraying into zombies. That's cool. RCXD takes me out of the game a little bit, but it's not as abhorrent as the Hellstrike and the Chopper Gunner. These two, while very strong, don't get me wrong, definitely not complaining about how strong they are or anything like that, they definitely take you out of the flow of gameplay because you're just in the air now, shooting down on what you were just looking at. Whereas the other score streaks still definitely keep you within the flow of the game. Besides that, honestly, overall, this is a very solid zombie system. It's definitely the best we've gotten in years. Definitely the best since Black Ops 4. And it's very refreshing. It's very refreshing. I think the main takeaway for me when it comes to Black Ops 6 is that I'm very hopeful for the future of zombies. You can definitely tell the developers put a lot of passion and time into this. And I think I'm going to keep an open mind and a positive mindset going into the next DLC maps that are coming out. Now, I do have a message for the community, especially since that Liberty Falls video did super well. And I want to thank everyone for supporting me on that video as much as they did. I woke up one day and saw that thing was at 3,500 views or something like that. It's crazy. And I've gotten so many subscribers from that, and I just wanted to thank everyone for that. But one thing I noticed, and I'm not going to say I made fun of you guys mentally, but I definitely made fun of a lot of people, and there's how insulting we are to each other in a game we all care about. And I genuinely think that that shouldn't be the case. Like, let the guy, like, the one main example I will say is that my first comment on that Liberty Falls video was, I enjoyed Liberty Falls. It is my first time playing zombies. And my immediate thought was like, damn, the new guy who's never played Black Ops Zombies before is loving Liberty Falls. But then the more views that video got, the more attention it got. There was more people that joined in on the discussion, and a lot of people were just insulting each other for liking the game or criticizing the game, and it's just like, dude, let's keep it peaceful here, man. We all enjoy this game. We all enjoy the older games. Let the criticisms be criticisms, but don't bully each other. And that would be my final and closing thought for this game, is that let people that enjoy this game for what it is. And if you don't like it, then so be it. More power to you, man. But I think as a community and as a zombies community, we should definitely be nicer to the new players coming in. And yeah, I think that's it. I will say this. Would I buy Black Ops 6 for $70 just for zombies? Just ignoring multiplayer and campaign. And personally, I would say wait for Season 1 Reloaded. See what people think about that. If it's a positive, then by all means, I'd say buy Black Ops 6. But as of right now, I'd recommend playing it through Game Pass, as Game Pass probably gives the best bang for buck on Black Ops 6. And besides that, I think that really closes out my thoughts on this video. If you enjoyed listening to me rant for an excruciating long time, please like and subscribe. Comment what you think, but be nice, please. We need to be better as a community. And yeah, thanks for watching.